racial injustice is no longer a significant issue in America. Racial has been defined as any human being's race or when race is connected to religion. Injustice has been defined as unfair punishment, opportunity, and/or treatment. Our opposing team believes that today in the 21st century, people still create significant racial injustices. I'm not going to deny that there are any, but are these injustices significant enough to cause a nationwide problem? I say no. Significance has been defined as something worthy of recognition. These so-called racial injustices are really personal attacks on another person's character, not race. I'm going to ask you to think about this next thought throughout the rest of my statement. If significant racial injustices still occur today, how would America change? People like Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks had to stand up to racial injustices. Rosa Parks was arrested for not giving up her seat to a white person. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." Back in the 1950s, those situations were true, but now in modern day, is it? No. Today, people have civil rights that prevent things like this from happening and from going back to the way they were. If racial injustice cannot go back to the way they were, then all they can do is improve, and that's all that's happening, improvement. Some people might like to say that there has been little improvement. If this were true, would there be actors from minorities with shows like Everybody Hates Chris and My Wife and Kids that starred mainly black families be on the air? Or would the President of these United States be black? The U.S. Census has noted that the United States will no longer have a white majority by the year 2050. Earlier, I had asked you to think about what America would be like if significant racial injustices still occurred today. What would happen if they did? There would be separate bathrooms, lines, and water fountains for Caucasians and people of color. There would be no chance of having Mr. Barack Obama as our president. Your parents would not let you be friends with people of color. You couldn't be friends with Ariana Pinkney Brown or Deanna Wallace. These are good people that haven't done anything wrong. Why should they not be granted the same opportunity as us? They should. As you can see, these are situations that wouldn't, couldn't, and shouldn't ever happen again. I'm going to leave you with this one last thought. If significant racial injustices still occur today, then our lives wouldn't nearly be as great. There would be no air conditioning, doorknobs, or cell phones, all inventions from people of other minorities.
Negative opening? Wait till your time. Keep us ready.
Hello, I'm Sammy Ahmad, leader of the opposing side. We are here today to discuss the truth about racial injustice in America. The topic which we plan to prove invalid states, racial as evidenced in literature, history, and modern culture, racial injustice is no longer a significant issue in America today. In a few words, racial injustice means what is not right or not fair being put into action. Significant means of importance or magnitude, which it brings attention and withdraws attention and makes an impact of society. America is possibly the most diverse country on earth, so to say that racial injustice is no longer a significant issue in America today would be an invalid statement. To even say that racial injustice isn't a significant issue in a small school like ours would be untrue. If it's a problem here, just imagine how diverse large cities are affected by this contagious disease called racism. On January 27, 2009, an innocent 15-year-old boy had rocks hurled at him on his way home from school. Seth Gerger is a mix of African American, Indian, and white. The white boy who threw rocks at Seth also called Seth an Obama lover and used the N-word to describe Seth's family. Seth did not suffer any fatal injuries, however, he moved out of his town, Keslow. Following our class term, Seth is considered a victim of racial injustice. In the 1960s, Harper Lee took the time to write an award-winning book called To Kill a Mockingbird. In To Kill a Mockingbird, a man named Tom Robinson was convicted of a crime that he did not commit. It was simply a case of black versus white. In the 1960s, racial injustice was a very significant issue in America. Since then, the diversity of our country has grown. Unfortunately, so has our problem with racial injustice. I leave you all with one statement, one which was written in the Declaration of Independence, submitted on July 4th, 1776, by Thomas Jefferson. He said, "All men are created equal," and and it is true, all men are created equal. Unfortunately, the following statement is also true. Although all men are created equal, not all men are treated equal in America. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, we're going to move on to the literary specialist for the affirmative side.
We have to change our slide order because
Okay, yep. Jeff is going to take care of that. Can you change over?
yeah.
Just
Ours
press
the green
escape.
One. Yeah.
I know.
Oh, he's very sophisticated up there.
Well,
Jeff, all the slides are on click. Everything else is automatic.
I know, I clicked the one and then I went to question.
What's this on?
Jeff? What? I know. Is that a timeout? Oh, man.
There we go. There we go.
Hi, my name is Cody Kirschbaum. I understand that the racial injustice in To Kill a Mockingbird is very significant and proved to be a large problem. However, you must remember that it was written in the 1960s. It is now 2012. That is 50 years ago. That's a pretty long time. A lot can happen in 50 years, and a lot has happened. Rights have drastically changed, and for the better. Macomb was a pretty much all-white population. It seemed that all the Negroes living in Macomb lived in their own separate region. Today, towns and cities contain many races living door to door. There is no separation of race when it comes to houses and living. Another separation that does not exist today is within the church. When Jem and Scout go to church with Calpurnia, they are not welcomed. Lula said that they had their own church, they meaning white people. Nowadays, churches contain all types of races and that includes minorities. Let's face it, America contains much less racial injustice, and the racial injustice that does exist is nowhere near significant. The court system in To Kill a Mockingbird was extremely corrupt. With an all-white jury and a white judge, all other races had no chance of winning any trial. It didn't matter which man had the more reliable or trustworthy facts, white men always won. This was how every trial turned out. The point is, today is not the 1960s, and there have been many changes, especially in the court system. Juries are not only composed of white people. All other races, including black people, are part of them. This eliminates the prejudice and racial injustices that used to exist. On a technical point of view, I will now examine how the presented evidence was dealt with. There was no biological or physical evidence to support Bob Ewell's accusation and testimony. The only evidence was his statements. Without any actual evidence, none of Mr. Ewell's facts can be proven reliable. Today, at any trial, evidence is needed. Not just words, but physical, reliable evidence in order to make sure that the final verdict is an accurate one. And the evidence that Bob Ewell presented didn't exactly sound reliable either. Mayala's and Bob's testimonies didn't match up completely, but it seemed that no one on the jury noticed and nothing was done. If that happened today, people would pick up on it and use it against them to win a case. This just shows how inefficient the court system was in the 1960s. It is obvious that racial inequality in To Kill a Mockingbird became a problem. From the corrupt and unfair court to the hierarchy of hate, I understand what their impact was, but you should understand that this book was written in the 1960s, 50 years ago. Things that happen in the book simply do not happen these days. America has become a fair and loving country. Sure, there are a few racial events that occur from here to there, but none severe enough to be considered a significant problem. I can say without a doubt that racial injustice is not a significant problem in America now. Justice is served, and the person proven guilty is punished, whether they are all white, black, or any other race.
Okay, Cody, stay up there. Okay. Okay, so Nick, you'll be cross-examining first. Are you ready, or would you like to take any time to consult with your team? Okay, 30 seconds. for the negative team. Yeah. And Dan, it's 2 minutes for rebuttal. You can talk also.
Wait, are they taking 30 seconds or a minute?
They're taking 30 seconds and I'm gonna keep track of that.
Okay.
That's good, so you'll just press start again next time. You don't need to pause. It'll do it in clips, so it'll be easy for me to when I upload.
That's 30.
So I would miss all the.
That's 30.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's not only 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Okay, Cody. Do you feel comfortable saying the word Negro?
Yes.
Would you ever say the N-word?
No.
Do you think that means that it's not racism?
I don't understand your question.
Do you think that the N-word is racist?
Yes, I do.
Do you think it's a significant word?
Yes.
And how is that not racism?
Well. I mean, I know a lot of other people think that don't like to use that word and it makes them feel uncomfortable.
So that shows widespread racism in America. Do you agree?
Okay, yes, it's widespread, but is widespread the definition of significant?
The N-word and words that are racist are all across America, so they are widespread. They have been for a long time. They have existed for a long time, which means they've had a significant impact. Do you agree?
So if he concedes the point, you can ask a different question, a different line of questioning.
Why would you read To Kill a Mockingbird now if it's not a significant issue?
To show that what the problems were back then and how they've changed.
But do you see that there is some racism in Granby?
I see that there's some,
So you
but
agree?
I also see that it's dealt with.
Do you think it's completely dealt with? That there is absolutely none?
No, but I think it's dealt with enough to not be considered a significant problem anymore.
Do you think it affects the lives of people in our town?
Yeah, I think it does.
That's the end.
Okay. Alright, you guys can go to lunch and I will see you after lunch.
That's so creepy. The alarm went off. The alarm went off. Okay, with the alarm. That is kind of scary. Oh my god. I do not feel good about